Alrighty, so today I am actually going to be talking about a head coach that is not only being hired by an MLS team, but at the same time, also going to be talking about a head coach that was fired by an MLS team because it's not very often every day you see a head coach that is being hired by an MLS team and one that is being fired by an MLS team on the same day, but that's exactly what we have. So we'll start off with the team that hired a new MLS head coach, and that team is the San Jose Earthquakes, who they have announced that they have hired Bruce Arena as their new head coach and new technical sporting director. Now, obviously, we knew this was coming from a long time ago. I mean, for the past couple of weeks, there's been rumors that this, of course, is true, and especially I think a couple of weeks when Tom Boger basically break that out the fact that the Quakes were very close in advanced talk in terms of signing Bruce Arena as the next head coach and the technical director for the Quakes. It was a matter of time before, of course, it happened, and it finally happened today. Now, obviously, as a Quakes fan, I mean, I can see why there may be some optimism. I mean, I know what Bruce Arena, of course, have done during his tenure. He's obviously the godfather of American soccer, and we know what happened last time when he took over a team that was really bad and was pretty much at the lowest of low. That is the New England Revolution a couple of years ago, and really built that team to be an MLS Cup contender and eventually winning the Sapporo Show, and also what was back then of the able to achieve the most points total in an MLS regular season before Inter Miami, of course, past that this upcoming season. Now, obviously, there are still going to be people that will talk about the incident that happened with him at New England. And again, to this day, we still do not know what exactly going to happen. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I don't think we'll ever figure out what happened in that situation unless if both parties finally feel like it's comfortable to reveal to the public. We still don't know what's going to happen, and that this is of course his second chance to get back into the coaching business, especially with the way that there was already rumors that he was going to be a head coach with an MLS team heading into this season as well. Obviously, it didn't quite worked out. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he'll do with the Quakes. Again, one of the concern I have is the fact that for the Quakes, I've always said this many times on this channel, and you probably know what I'm going to say. It is pretty clear that the major problem for this team is not the head coach. The major problem obviously is the ownership group, and especially with John Fisher controlling this team. We know that this team is basically held back by the cheapness that he has, and I even mentioned many times before. John Fisher is right up there in terms of being the worst owner in MLS. I mean, I know Montreal fans would like to have a word with that. And also, Union fans might have a word with that because I'll talk about a big news that coming out of their end as well in terms of being the worst owner in MLS. But what John Fisher has done to the Quakes and just the cheapness that has gone down. I mean, I know Bruce Arena did a great job when it comes to operating a team that, when he was with New England, the Kraft family, they didn't really spend too much money themselves, although, they did made a big signing in getting Carlos Hill, and that was a huge difference maker. And I think that's what the Quakes might need to do, and they need to have that big number 10 playmaker, which technically they have already with Hernan Lopez. I mean, if Hernan Lopez, at times last year, he definitely showed that capability of being a very good number 10, and if that of course would be the case as the season goes along and he continued to develop him to do well, then yeah, obviously this team could do something. But my big concern of this team is the fact that with this big signing, will this maybe get some of the players to play under him? I mean, I'm pretty sure that will be a big question, especially again going back to what happened during his time with New England and that kind of sad ending that it did. Will that be lingering over as well? But overall, again, I want to have hope for this Quakes team. And one thing I know about the Quakes, at least the pattern that they've been having the last couple of years, is that following a year when they basically are the worst team in the league, they started to kind of rebuild a little bit, started to have a bit of a better season, and that if the pattern continues next season, they might be a little bit better. Probably won't make it to the playoffs, but definitely a little better. And then after that, they'll make it to the playoffs, or at least barely sneak in to the playoffs. But again, this is definitely a start in terms of once again the Quakes going for a new era. But how many times I've seen every time I mentioned the Quakes are going to a new era, things were going to turn around, and then it was just kind of a mirage. And do not be surprised if Bruce Arena might be thinking about leaving this team in just a couple of years if he gets frustrated in terms of the cheapness of ownership that is the San Jose Earthquakes. Now, as I mentioned earlier about the Philadelphia Union, and this one really kind of is a big surprise in some way, kind of came out of left field. So the Philadelphia Union have announced that they have fired Jim Curtin as their head coach after 10 years with the club, and Jim Curtin, he's definitely one of the more well known head coach in the MLS universe. I mean, he's the second longest tenure head coach prior to this firing, only behind Peter Vermees. And not to mention, he's also a head coach that have done so much for the Philadelphia Union. I mean, he's also been the coach of the year for the team for 2 years and able to guide the team to a supporter shield win in the COVID shortened season, even guide the team to an MLS Cup final appearance where they were literally just moments away from winning that MLS Cup if it wasn't for a Gareth Bale and a penalty kick shootout loss that they suffer. And yeah, again, it's kind of surprising mainly because I knew that coming into this offseason. I'll basically do a video talk about it. In fact, I'm not even doing moving forward series episode, and that might be the next team I'm going to be focused because that really has kind of changed what I'm might be talking about the Union moving forward with this team is the fact that I know coming into this offseason there was expecting that they might go through a bit of a rebuild or even a retool because all these main core pieces unfortunately they're going to have to kind of dismantle because it just feels like it's getting stale to a point where they need to go for a bit of a retool or even a rebuild to replenish their core a little bit because of all the failures that they have had in the playoffs. But not in my wildest dream. I thought that part of that retool and part of the time where they need to rebuild their roster involve the firing of Jim Curran. I mean, again, I know it has not been a great season for the Union. This is the first season the Union have missed out on the playoffs, probably since I think 2017 is. They had a long playoff streak going back to when Jim Curran was really a big part of building this team what they are and building this team to be a contender in the Eastern Conference year after their year. And again, while they didn't get over the hump eventually, again, one bad season, I don't know if that's worthy enough of a firing. And especially now, all of a sudden, I think this not only is a big story coming out of the coaching carousel, but now all of a sudden, I think now that for all these teams that still doesn't have a head coach heading into the offseason and looking for a new head coach heading into the next season, Jim Curtin has to be right up there at the top of the coaching candidate list. I mean, all these teams that are looking for head coach, they are basically ringing Jim Curtin phone nonstop right now because again, for a guy with that kind of resume and what he has done for the Union year after their year, that's something that a lot of teams would want to do, especially a lot of teams that have an ownership group that is willing to spend. One of the thing that is even more remarkable about Jim Curran of all his time doing uh coaching this Philadelphia Union team is that he's able to guide this team to year after year success, despite the fact that this is one of the team that does not run on a pretty big budget. They heavily rely on the academy and also heavily rely on in terms of the scouting department. Though part of that has to get goes to Ernest Tanner, who has done a really good job in terms of building the team as well. But still, it's kind of remarkable how he's done with kind of almost a shoestring budget. Now imagine if he does join a big team. Now imagine him going to Atlanta United, where he's gonna get the wallet and get the players that he needs to build a championship side. There could be a case where I would not be surprised Jim Curran would be joining a team that could be on the verge of being ready to be a contender, and that team could instantly get not only a huge boost in terms of that, but could be an MLS Cup contender as soon as next season as well. And overall, I think this is a mistake on the Philadelphia Union part, and especially again, it's not very often we usually see long 10-year head coach all of a sudden just got fired out of left field. Usually, we might see the writings on the wall. The last time I've seen a head coach that's been with a team for so long that eventually got the chopping block was Ben Olsen with DC United. But at least then we knew that that was going to happen with the way that the Benny ball that he used with DC United was really wearing down the team, and all the fans were really calling for his head. You can't say the same thing about Union fans. Union fans really still love Jim Curtin. They're probably not a majority of the Union fan base would say that this poor season that the Union of course had is entirely on Jim Curtin, or even remotely come close to being Jim Curtin fault. So again, it is a big surprise, and that I don't know, this big shakeup will change how this team is going to be in the future. I've already heard like a lot of Union fans said this feels like it's the wrong move, and that it seems like now this team could be even heading into a worse direction, consider what Jim Curtin has done to this team on a shoestring budget, and at times really kind of getting the best out of the player, like no head coach is able to do with their players. So yeah, obviously it's going to be interesting thing to see who they're going to hire as their next head coach, and that there's a lot of big burden to trying to hit that after a long time head coach that is very well loved in the fan base have inexplicably was fired by the front office. And as I said, I would not be surprised Jim Curtin would be unemployed in the MLS coaching carousel for very long. I mean, every single he is pretty much the hottest coaching candidate this off season, and that there is going to be a lot of teams, especially teams that have money with the likes of St. Louis, Atlanta, and even some other team that doesn't have a head coach right now. Even I wish if the Quakes could have just waited a little bit longer, they probably could have chose Jim Curtin. I mean, don't get me wrong. If I was the Quakes, getting Bruce Arena is definitely great, but getting Jim Curtin is much better, especially with the way that for the past couple of years, I've always hear about the Quakes trying to follow the same model that the Philadelphia Union has run. So why not decide to do that by basically hiring the guy that is the mastermind in terms of running the union motto. And that again, if they would have just waited a couple of weeks, when this of course is when Jim Curtin is available, I would not be surprised they might take a bit of a 180 turn and say, well, let's get Jim Curtin in instead of Bruce Arena as the new head coach of the Quakes. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this video? If you're a Quakes fan, what do you think of this hiring? And if you're a Union fans, how upset are you in terms of this hiring? I can definitely understand that there are a lot of Union fans are not happy about this firing, and I don't blame them for that. But also, if you're a team that doesn't have a head coach right now, or you root for a team that is in that situation, how much you're very excited now that you are basically praying for your team to trying to get get Jim Curtin as your next head coach of your MLS team. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.